Hello everyone, welcome back. We are in after lunch break and we want to continue. So, Mickey, let's go for it. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Or just a second. Can you see?
Yes. So let's read. This is related to the console log of try and catch from connection of DB. And it tried to connect to the database and it's telling bad authentication. So authentication, when you see the word authentication, we're going to talk about authentication a lot in the futures when we talk about security. The authentication means you wanted to access something but failed. And it's always related to logging in something, connecting to something. It's related to a password is wrong or a username is wrong. So this means your DB URI link, the connection string, it could be one of them is wrong, either password or username. Can you see your .env? So you have a Mickey as a username and there is a password with 123. Is the greater than sign is
No, I forgot.
yeah. So let's save and let's give it a try. You have to stop and rerun it again. Still. So this means your password or username is kind of wrong.
I tried to do it from the beginning and change it, but maybe I did something wrong here. So
Yeah,
I
let's see.
saw that I had. Was it?
It's inside of the database access. So you have two of them. Let's edit one of them. So the one that you use is Mickey with M small. So you have two of them. Let's change the password. All right. You can just say, okay, the browser, if you receive such things, guys, it's so important. Google has a security, Chrome has a security built in, I don't know, algorithm that when you choose a password, let's say you are logging in and your email, you put your email, and if you receive this from Google Chrome, this means your password was cracked somewhere in the internet and someone has access to that and they know it. When we go to security, one day I'm going to explain all of this, just having a theory, what is it? But be careful with that and try to change your password, whatever it is about Google or whatever, Gmail. So let's test it. Is it working?
It's working. Sorry, just a second.
All right, DB connected. Fantastic.
Yeah, finally. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go. Yes.
Mine is not connecting again somehow.
Let's share your screen. This is, guys, your days. These 4 days, if we continue about reviewing, please stop sharing, stop me, share your screen, ask your questions, because it's your time to have a review. Even about basic things. Ask me like, I don't know what is variable, what is function, everything.
So when I try to restart it, it's not restarting.
Yeah, read the error. I want you guys to read the error.
Yes. Nope. Here, so imported from.
Yes. What is it telling? The error, what is it telling?
Cannot find package.
So this means if you see something like this, I cannot find. Mickey.
Okay. Mickey?
Give it a try with Mickey and then I will explain if it's not working.
I
Yeah.
did the same. I don't know if it's working for you.
It's all good. When you try to import something and the error says, hey, I cannot find this package, this could be you didn't install that. Let's see your package JSON if you at all installed the package the .env.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't.
So let's install that. npm install .env.
ENV?
.env, so .env. Mm-hmm. This should work. Let's give it a try. Nice.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Great. Teamwork now.
Thanks, Mickey.
All right, we are connected to the database. Our server is running on the port 770. And one more thing, guys. Usually we put the port number also in the .env. So this means I'm going to bring it here that we just really do everything correctly. So I'm going to have a port, this, and here instead of hard coding that I'm going to take it from .env, which means process .env .port, and if there is no port, let's say my .env looks like this, okay, what happens if I save? You will see that my app crashes because there is no port, because there is no port in the .env, and our application is highly dependent to the port. Let's say you are working with a team, like with your colleague, and you push this into the GitHub, your code. Definitely we don't push the .env there. And what we do, like in real application, when you work in a company, when you clone this application, like you clone it from the GitHub and you are working in a team, everyone has access to this. When you clone it, the .env is not there. So you don't have this. And how do you know that? What you need in the .env to set up this one? Because this thing is never there. If I delete it, it's like never there when you clone something. We don't want to send our credential to the GitHub. That's why we put it in the .env and we ignore it to be pushed there. And what is the solution? Because it is not only just one DB URI and port. There will be a lot of secure stuff we're gonna add as we go to the .env. A lot of things. And that a lot of things, you need to know what you need to like prepare this to be able to run your application. Because now if I imagine I clone this, there is no .env, I try to say npm start, it crashes. Yeah, or there is no URI, it crashes. How they do it in real life in the companies or when you work? Because they need to tell you guys as a colleague, when you clone this, they need to tell you what you need in your .env. That's why always there is another .env, so it is like this, .env .example. Oops, let's write it with .env.example. It's just an example of the real .env. There is such a file, they push it to the database, to the GitHub. So when you clone this, you don't have the real .env, you have the example. The example is like this. They put the things that you need. So, oops. They put the things that you need, and they tell you what you need to put inside of your .env if you want to be able to like run this application. And then when you check the example, it says, oh, I need a URI, DB URI connection. Then when you create your own .env, you need to put this variable there as they mentioned, and then your connection of DB. There is a port, then you need a port. You know what I mean? And there will be a lot of more information that you need to do. So that's the thing. So always we're gonna have an example of the .env and push to the in GitHub, not the .env itself. Does that make sense what I'm telling? Great. And the next step is you have to think about all the possible cases that an error can happen. From now on, every line that you write, you need to think about what if it doesn't do what I want, then what happens? It shouldn't crash your app. You have to think about all the cases. If you make a fetch request, if you write write a function, whatever you do, you need to take care of this, that your application never crashes. So this is, we know it came from here. There was no port. And I need to, as a programmer, I need to think about it. If there is no port provided, which means or, so if there is, use this. If there is no, use another port. Let's say you put 5,000 or whatever you want. In this case, you are sure that if even in the .env there is no port, I forgot to put any port there or whatever, it's gonna take the other one, 5,000. You will see now it will be connected to the 5,000. All right, because I didn't provide anything. So that's the other thing that you have to take into consideration. Great. Our server is running. We have a one route that is specifically for the users. And in that route, we have only one endpoint. So when I say endpoint, this means this one. One endpoint is responsible for doing one thing. This is receiving a request. That request should be this one inside. So if a request carrying an address of localhost 77 API/API users, which means this matches, it goes inside of this file and it goes exactly to the method. Which method? Get. That's a get method. So it comes here, it's going to handle that. Instead of this hard-coded user, we want to use real database that we were connected to. Have you learned schema? All right. I want someone to explain me what is a schema, why do I need it, and what is it for even?
As I remember, it's a kind of example how our user has to be, like email or name.
Exactly. And why we need that anyway?
What did you say?
The question was, what is the schema and why we need that?
Okay. I think a schema helps us actually kind of organize our data.
Yes.
Mostly. so we can have like the proper structure or something like this. So
Yes,
and
exactly.
also for updating it, you can use it. So
Yes, exactly. It tells your database what structure your data should have. Definitely, Shindu. Shnedu. Let me draw something. Um, this is your front end. This is your backend. This front end even could be a REST client, that little thing HTTP we try to make a request. A tool that can make a request. It could be browser, it could be your React, it could be your mobile phone, it could be the HTTP request, it could be anything that can make a request to a server. And this is your server, the backend that we already set up. And somewhere we have the MongoDB in the cloud. They look like the databases look like a cylinder. They look like this, and then you can have a database inside different databases. So the cluster that we created and the name of the folder that I told you in the .env, where is it, the .env? This is the name of folder that I created there. It's one database there. So this means this is the folder name, E05 review. Inside of this, we connected to this folder actually. So we need to make interaction between your server or backend and receive or send event to save some data, receive some data, delete some data, or update some data and receive some response from the database. That this is the procedure we want to do. And you cannot make a request straight ahead from your front end to the database. It's no go. It doesn't work and we can't do that. Okay, the front end is not able even to do that. For example, your front end from your React, you make a, I don't know, fetch request or whatever to the database and say, give me the products. It doesn't work. So the procedure is that your front end or whoever that is able to make a request sends a request, hey, give me all the users you have. Here, somewhere in your server, you have an endpoint. The endpoint is responsible. So let's say you have a get users, the one that we created. This is responsible for getting all the users from the database. What does it do? We need a tool somehow. Here, that tool, we still don't have it. We want to create that. That tool is going to make a request to this E08 review folder and ask, hey, give me all the users. If there is a user, it sends you back array of users. If there is no users, it sends you back an empty array. Anyway, it sends you something, or empty array, or nothing, or full of users. This will send you back a response. This response, when we receive it, the server is going to send it back to whoever asked for it. Okay, that will be the response back. So from the backend, we need to talk to the database, MongoDB. We are connected to that. We are already connected to that, but we don't know how to talk to each other, the interaction. Yeah. First thing first, we need a schema. We need to tell, hey, database, hey, E08 review thingy folder in the database. If I try to send you something as a user, as a product, as a whatever, if I try to send you something to be saved in the database, please save it in this structure, because MongoDB has no structure. If you work with the SQL databases, the SQL databases already have a structure. Yeah, so you don't need this schema, so to say. It's another way. It's like tables. But MongoDB, you have to define it yourself, which we call it schema. So let's say you have a user, you want to save a user. That user has a, let's say, username. Let's keep it simple. Username and a password. We would tell to the database, if there is a user, I give you, send a user to be saved there, make sure, before you save that, make sure it has a username and a password. If one of them is not there, or I don't know, anything that it's not in this structure that I want, don't save it, send me error or whatever. That's why we need a schema. A schema tells the database, I want user to look like this structure. Save it in this structure. Out of this structure, don't save it. That's the schema. And this is just a structure that database knows. It says, okay, I know it, I do that. But the operation, like the operation of, hey, give me that, save that, or I don't know, delete that, update that, whatever. This operation that happens between the server and the backend, there is a tool. We need that. It's not a schema. A schema was the structure that we say, hey, database, that's the structure of the user. Hey, database, that's the structure of the products. The products should have titles, description, price, whatever. The user should have username, password. This is a structure. We need to create that. But this interaction between them, sending something, getting back something, or deleting, we want to delete something, and then database deletes that and sends back, hey, I deleted that, or I didn't delete that. This all of interaction is happening with model. So we need also, next to the schema, a model. The model is the do. The model is the action. The model is doing all of these jobs. Does that make sense, what I'm telling? All right. So we did this part. We have our server set up. We connected to the database. Now we want to say to the database about the user, the structure of the user, and also the model that makes this interaction for us. Let's do this. So usually you have another folder. That folder, we name it models. Inside of that, every model comes there. User model, product model, and any other model that you have. So here we're going to say models. I don't know if it's pool or models. Yeah, there should be different models. So let's create a model there. So usually models are classes, like it's a class. Because it's a class, we usually save the name of the file with capital. So user, for example, model.js. Usually you see the naming is short form like this, user model. When you get used to what is a model and with a capital U, then you know it's a model actually. But at the beginning, I highly recommend that you put a model after that you know, okay, it's my model. Inside of that there is a schema, there is model, everything. All right. So here we need to create a schema and the model, both of them. Have you done that before? You said, I think, creating a schema. Can you help me to do it? What should I do at the first step? Jakub says import schema and model from Mongoose. Great. Which means I'm going to import Mongoose from Mongoose. And then I want to do, someone tell me what I'm doing. What is this thing? What do you call this line? What is it doing?
defining schema, Mongo schema then.
I'm not defining anything here. It's just const. When you have a const, you have a kind of variable.
You're trying to create a new schema object, right?
Still, I'm not there, but I'm gonna try the next step. I want exactly to tell me what is this line doing. Is it familiar to you, this thing? Like curly braces and then...
It's an array, no object.
Fantastic. What is an object? Mickey, what is an object? Which one?
The Mongols here.
Yes. And mongoose is an object. That's tell you that. With this line, it tells you mongoose is an object. And what is the left side? The curly braces model schema. What is it doing?
It's telling us how the object has to be.
If I write... is it familiar to you?
Probably did it, but personally I don't remember very well. I don't know for reality.
All right, let's have an example. So it's not about now schema. I want to create an object. Let's say that object we have inside age 34 and object equals to, and then we have name, let's say Mickey, and email Mickey. Let's say this is our object, and I want you to tell me how can I console log name out of this object. How do you access to a property of an object? Okile, did you say something? Because I haven't heard that. Jakub says exactly. Object dot name. Everyone agree that? Okay, fantastic. In the other side, I want to run the file user model.js node user that you see the console log. Setting to model. So when I run that, you can see I get the console log Mickey. Fantastic. And if I want to console log email, the same thing. I have to do the same. And if I run it, I have two console log, Mickey, and then the email Gmail. What if I want to save this into a variable? Because I need to say, okay, the name will be equal to object.name, and then email equals to object.email. Oops, what was that? Everyone agree with that? We can take the name out of the object, save it to a variable. Now I have access to email like this. I'm gonna say console log email and name. Then I can get rid of this. So if I run it, still I have access to email and name. Does that make sense so far? What we do with objects, we can access them, save it to a variable. This is one way. It has no problem. You can do this one by one. Or there is a nice new destructuring, we name it. I can say, I know the object is an, the obj variable is an object. Because it's an object with the curly braces, I can destructure or I can take out whatever I want from it. So I can say I want the name and I want the age, even I want the email if you want. Or just if two of them, doesn't matter. I can destructure it from the obj, this object. So this thing is the same as before, but in one line. Now I can console log again, name and age. So if I run it, you'll see that the same thing. We destructured that from the object. They call it like this. Or we take it out from the object. Does that make sense? This is the structure. Great. This is the same like this here. I can say const model equals to mongoose.model, because mongoose is a object and I can take it from the mongoose.model like that, and one by one. And then also I want schema, then I'm going to say schema equals to mongoose dot schema. These two lines is equal to this one line. So because I don't want to repeat in this line, I can destructure it in one line. Does that make sense? This is the structuring, and you will have that a lot. And it's so important and nice syntax that you need it a lot in the future. And I'm going to use this a lot actually. Question? Yeah, Savine.
I have a doubt. I got a little confused with the line you wrote. Can you please get back that one?
Sorry, you confused with what?
Was this one line that const age, comma name, it was inside curly braces, is equals to object. So, like.
Let me change this object to user. Maybe it's better. Let's say that's the user. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
When you wrote const inside curly braces name comma age is equals to user.
This means.
Yeah, the user object includes three properties, age, name, and email. But on the left-hand side, we have only mentioned name and age. So, like, how come the user object with three properties is equal to another object with just two properties?
Fantastic. It's a very nice question. The question is, we have three property there. And even the ordering is not, because I said first name, but here we have first age, right? And why is that so? Why it's working? The object, the ordering doesn't matter. Yeah, you specify exactly what you want from that object. You say, hey, user object, I wanted this thing that you have inside, so give it to me. And it's going to save it to a variable name. Yeah, and then I want the age out of it. Give it to me. It has nothing to do with ordering, and even you had 10,000 of properties in this object, you take what you want. Yeah. In this case, I wanted only name and age, but in maybe I want also email, and the order doesn't matter. Even I can say give me email and then name. Yeah, the order doesn't matter. Whatever you want from that object, you can take it in this way. And then if I console log that, you can see the email, the name, the age. So if I run the code, you'll see I have access to them, and I have all of them. Yeah, makes sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. The order doesn't matter at all. You take what you want. Sometimes you want only one thing. That's email. This is nicer than if you want to write like this. So this is the same like this. You say email equals to user.email. This is the same thing. This is equal to this one, but this is nicer and shorter. All right? Great. Fantastic. Now we have the structured model and schema out from the Mongoose object, and now we have access to them. We can use them. The first thing we want to create is a schema. The schema is the blueprint or the structure of the telling the database, hey, this is the structure of the user, save the user in this structure. If I send you something that is not in this structure, send me error and don't save it. Yeah. So this means we usually name it like this: user schema. It's about user. If it was about product, you would say product schema. Yeah. Or if it were about cats, you would say cats schema. Or whatever, related. So it's about related to the user. We're going to say, that's how I name it. Equals to. We can create an instance because schema is a class. We create an instance from that with new parentheses and curly braces inside. And here we can define how can be structure of our user. I want to keep it simple for today. Just two things. A username and a password. That's it. So a user, it can have a username, and this username, we define some structure for the username. For example, what is the type of this data? Is it a number? Is it Boolean? Is it a string? So I need to define that. Is it correct what I do? No. Why?
It's a string.
Yes, usernames is mostly strings, like it's a name with a number or whatever. It's not a number. So that's why if you define like this and you put username as a string, you get error. The database says, hey, you said type of this should be number, but you gave me a string, error. That's why we define this structure. We say it should be a string. Okay, great. And there are a bunch of stuff, security stuff that we can say. Usernames must be unique. It means two users cannot have the same username. You shouldn't allow that. So to do this, there is a keyword unique. And you can say true. Unique true means, hey, make sure, hey database, make sure if a user is trying to be saved in the database, like registered there, make sure this username that they're choosing, no one else is used that already. So it should be unique. All right. Do you know what this thing do?
Maybe if there's any extra space, it cuts it.
Exactly. The trim does, let's say, because, sorry to say that, users or normal users, clients, they are very stupid. When they come to your website and try to register, They put a username and suddenly they do this. 2 spaces. And they don't notice it. If you save this with 2 spaces in your database, for the next time they try to log in and they put the username without space. And then they cannot log in. So what the fuck is that? I'm sure this is my username. And the reason is that they mistakenly added some space. And then we save the username with this space. That's why we say to make sure there is no space at the beginning and at the end of the username, just throw it away. Like trim through means remove the spaces. That we just save this into the database. Does that make sense? Great. We have another thing. Let's say password we can have. The password, the type of password is a number or a string, do you think?
Number.
If you use a password in a website to register, is it only numbers?
Both.
It's
Or it's
Character.
a string.
yeah, it's both, which is mean string. Because be careful, if you use only numbers for your password, it's really crackable fast. If you go to security, remind me, maybe we do some cracking, like how to crack a password. It's so easy if your password is not strong enough. Yeah? And should it be unique, the password?
Required and unique, yes.
Oh, required, as you said. I forgot about that. That's a good thing. The username must be required because we don't want to save the user in the database with an empty username. It shouldn't be empty. It's required. Required true. And also the same for the password. Required true. And you said unique true, right? But is it really? It should be unique true. Think about it. Isam says no. Jakob says no. Any reason for that?
I think should be unique, yes.
Okay, let's think about it. Me and you go to a website, Amazon.com, and we want to have an account. You put your password there. Let's say your password is Okile991. And I do the same. And I'm going to use Okile911 as my password. I'm not allowed to do that, do you think?
Okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, of course, yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Exactly. Even if you make this true, it's a bug to your system. You know why? Because if you want to make a users should have a unique password. This means you have a password Okile991 and then I use the same password for my account, Okile991, and then the error comes. Oh, the password must be unique. This means someone in this system has a Okile as a password 991 and it's so easy to find out who is this person. You know what I mean? So we don't want to give these security issues. Oh no, someone has this password, you shouldn't use that. The username, yes, someone taken this username. For example, Instagram. If you want to try to have an account and try to have a username, and if it's taken, it's tell you it's taken. You shouldn't use that. That's exactly the same case. But about the password, no, you don't want that to be unique. But definitely required. How about trim? Should we trim it or not?
Maybe.
Maybe. What if I want space really in my password?
I don't think we generally add space in our passwords.
Yes.
Instead of that, we can add underscore, hyphen, or something else. But
Exactly, but if someone want to use space, then you have to respect that. So I won't trim it, actually.
That's really a unique case then, because I think for most users they don't really know that the space is there.
Yeah, but they do it.
Password as well.
Yeah, but they do it. There are people who put spaces as password. That's why we don't trim it. Or if you trim it, you have to be a user friendly. Like your UI should be UX or UI, user experience, UX. The user experience should be really good. You have to in the front end say, for your password, make sure there is no empty spaces. If you want to trim it, yeah, you have to tell actually, which I don't recommend that because it's a bug security. Someone that comes there says, oh, I can ignore spaces from the password, then it's easier to crack. You know what I mean? So you don't have to say anything about these things to the front end. All right, that's it. Let's leave it like that. That's the schema that we want. This will tell him to the database how should be the structure. And now we need the model, the tool that I told you, because the model is doing this interaction. Hey, save that, delete that, update that, get me that. And these all of interaction between your server and the database, it's doing with the model. So I'm going to create, let's say, name it user. I'm going to name it as the same name of file. User. Oh, so slow. Model. So now I'm going to use this that I destructured. Model, that's a function. And this function returns actually at the end a class, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you what we need. Show me, please. All right. You can see that the model receives the two things. First, a name as a string, and the next is schema, which structure you want. The second one is very obvious. The schema is this schema that we defined. When we put it in the model, the database knows that, oh, you want this schema, username and password, then okay, I know it. So the second argument that this function receives is our schema. What is the first one, which is a name and as a string as an argument? What is this first one? The next one is our schema, which is user schema that we define. We can pass it here. Come on. I'm lazy to type, but let's type it. This is a user schema, this one. What is this? What should I pass here?
Just press user.
Yeah, but what is it? It's a collection. Inside of that folder E08 review database, that box that exists in the cloud in the MongoDB, inside of that we create a collection. That collection we named it user. Usually you name it singular. You don't need to put users. It's about users, but automatically when it goes there into the MongoDB creates a collection and adds an S to that. So it does that automatically. You don't need to do that. This creates a collection of users. It's like, imagine it as a subfolder inside of the E05. Imagine it like that. A subfolder of users. It adds S automatically there, and any user comes to be saved there, it goes to that folder or collection, so to say. Does that make sense? All right, we have two things. We only need one of them to be exported. Do you think which one should be exported? This one or this one? Yeah, Mickey.
Sorry, I didn't really get line 14. So you are destructuring the model, right?
The model is here. I destructured that, yes, to use it here.
Okay, and why we use it in this form?
It's a function. You can see the model is a function. So model parentheses, it tells you it's a function. This function receives two things. The first thing is a string, which is a name of a collection in the database. So let me, I should do it actually. We go to the database. This creates a collection of users. It's like a subfolder, like a folder inside of your database. And with this structure, the second thing receives our schema. It tells our database, hey database, create a collection of users, which is this one we gave it as a string, name it user. It adds users at the end. And then the schema that you should have is this schema that we have. So this model is a function, receives two things, name of a collection and the structure of the user. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Let's go back to our question. Which one should be exported based on the things that I draw for you here? Which one should be exported? The model or the schema?
The model,
Why?
the user model,
Why?
because that's where because the user model then contains retrieves the data that we need from the from our database.
Yeah, you're close to it. Do you remember who is doing the action? Like the interaction between database and the server? Like get that, do that, delete that, save that. Who is this person doing that? It's the model. This means this one is doing the job. This is doing all of this getting, posting, saving, deleting, updating. This means I need to export this one because I need this. So export this one, and we don't care about schema to be exported because we already passed it to the function. Did anyone ask something or have heard something? So that it can be imported and used wherever it's needed. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Our schema is ready. Our model is ready. We can now make interaction with the database. We are already connected to the database. We have tool for talking to the database. All right. Let's go back to our router here. So we need our model here because here was this little array of variable all users was our database. Now I want to get rid of this our database. This is not our database. Our database is the one that we connected to, and now I need to talk to that. And I need to use my model. This means first let's import our model. So import user model. Where is my user model? Why it doesn't suggest that to me? When Visual Studio doesn't suggest that, it means something is wrong. Let me check if everything is fine. Where is the model? Here. Export. Everything is fine. So we have to type it by ourselves. Let's go there. So I'm going to say import, and I need curly braces because I didn't export it as a default. I export it as a naming. User model. It should be exactly how, oh, it came here now. And make sure that the .js is at the end of it. Great. This is the tool talking to our database. Now, I'm gonna get rid of this thing for now. And let's go to our, so here there is a request, guys. Imagine that. The request to /API/users, and it's a GET request. So this comes here. This means I want to get all the users from the database. So let's say all users, I'm going to save it to a variable equals to. Now I want to go to the database and say, hey, give me all the users. If there is a user, I receive array of users. If there is no user, I receive what? I receive array of empty of the users. So an empty array. So user mother, this one. If you put a dot, it gives you a bunch of methods. There are a lot of them, and we will use some of them. But today, the thing that we want to use is find. What does it do? The find method is gonna go to the database, find all of the users that you have, and bring it back. All right? But I want you to pay attention to this. I usually put these things as a notes in the morning, but because it's a review, I don't have that notes. Find a function is returning a query. Have you talked about it in your class? What is a query? I see emoji of kind of no. Take it as it is, like I'm telling. If a function like find, which is a method for a model, is returning a query, queries are 99% like promises. So it acts like a promise. So imagine that it returns a promise. So when it returns a promise, what would you do? We talked about it in the morning. When a function returns a promise, what do you do?
Try and catch.
The try and catch, always we use it. And after that, we want to use it because it's catching errors. But it has nothing to do with the promise. Async and await. That's it, Jacob. Everyone agree with that? You remember it? So, two things now. If you see a function returning a query, it's 100% like promise. So take it as a promise. If a function returns a promise, this means I need await. And this is my function. So this should be async. This means async, right? Great. So this line, it interacts to the database, it goes there, finds all of the user, and grab them and retrieve them and bring it back and save it to this variable. And this variable, whatever it is, either it's empty array or full of users, I'm gonna send a response after that. When I'm done with that, the front end needs that response. Always you need to send a response. The response is done with this variable res. So which means res dot, first of all, in status 200, because should be successful. If it's not successful, we have to also error handle that. I'm gonna do error handling tomorrow as a review. Dot send. What are we gonna send? The all users, the variable that we have here, and hopefully it has users. If it not, it's not. And save. Let's test it. Let's test it. I have an endpoint, it's a get, and I need to make request, a get request to this URL or endpoint. It comes here, it goes to database and sends a response. Let's test that. So in the user's HTTP, that's a get request. I'm gonna exactly send to that endpoint /API/users. If I make this, either it works or not, let's see. Bang! Successful empty array. Because I don't have any user in the database yet. Does it work for you? Great for Jakub, yes. For the others? Should I continue? Is it working? Kila is working. Sabine, Miki,
Can you show me, please, one more time the server, because I'm getting an error.
What is the error telling? Yes, I'm
Port
going to show.
process. I did. I think I typed a typo.
Yeah, let's see. Want to show you a screen?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Good.
Can you see?
Ah, let me see.
Process.
Process is not defined. I think you have a typo from the process you've written.
Yeah.
No, it should be O.
Pro.
I think you used A.
Sorry.
PRO. Process.
Pro. Oh my god. Process.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
It was a typo. And then I have to go to, no, it was.
Make the request. The connection
The
is
connection
starting.
was rejected.
So, if it's telling you like this, it means it could be not connected. Can I see your .env? It's port 777. Can I see your server.js? And then we go to your routes. So port, everything is fine. Go to your endpoint here. You have everything is fine. Go back to your server.js. API users. Everything looks fine.
Let me try one more time where it was. No.
Everything looks fine. Let me see why it's rejected. HTTP localhost. Don't you have a typo with localhost? Is everything fine?
And here it's users or user?
It should be exactly how you defined it in the server.js. You can check it. The server.js, I think it's users. API/users. Yeah. This is...
Maybe I have a typo, I don't know.
You don't have. You don't have. It is something about the HTTP.
Here, no.
No, everything is fine. Go back to the user.http. What is that 777 question marks in the left side you have? There is a file, something.
Oh, typo.
I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but...
Let me try.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what was that.
Neither do I.
All right.
Okay, now it's working. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's, we have 4 minutes to break. I know you are tired, but please, it's your chance. If you want to have a, I don't know, if you want that you didn't say wasted your time, then it's important that you just be powerful for a couple of days. It says something went wrong. Try to restart your browser if the problem continues. I cannot share my screen. I don't know why. Let's do this. Let's have a break. Let's be back at 45. And I don't do that much after break. Just only one another endpoint to save it into the database, to save a user into the database, and then we're done for today. All right. Let's be back in 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes. See you.